There is no team in the NBA that is hotter than the Memphis Grizzlies, who have now won 10 straight. And if you had any doubts about their credibility as a team to be reckoned with, just look at their win over Golden State on Tuesday night. Ja Morant continues to lead from the front. He bucketed 29 points, one of 6 players to score in double figures in that game as they try to chase down Steph and company for second in the West. Tonight they face the Timberwolves, who've gone 5-5 in their last 10. Now, given their current run of form, it's a surprise to no one that Memphis sit atop the power rankings assembled by our Colin Ward-Henninger. Right behind them are the Miami Heat, who delivered 2 big wins in the past week and moved up 7 spots all the way to number 2. Charlotte Hornets, another team on the move. They're up 8 places and into the 7th spot after 3 good wins last week. And here to discuss the power rankings and the storylines surrounding them, we now welcome in the author, Colin Ward-Henninger, and our in-house NBA champ, Rip Hamilton. Colin, let's start with Memphis. Boy, oh boy, based on what you've seen from them over this winning run, are they now a team that is in the conversation to contend for the NBA title?
I think we have to say that they are, and everything we've seen from them so far is indicative of a championship contender. They have the superstar in Ja Morant, who's been absolutely tremendous. They have the swagger. They go out and beat the Warriors. A Memphis fan comes up and wants to give Ja Morant a high five, but he's wearing a Steph Curry jersey. And Ja Morant says, hey, man, no way. I'll send you a Memphis jersey. How about that? So they have all the confidence in the world, all the swagger in the world, and they have the depth to be able to do this. A lot of teams, NBA teams, are struggling with the COVID protocols, guys being in and out. Not Memphis. Ja Morant missed 12 games. They didn't miss a beat. This looks like a team that's going to be a very difficult out in the playoffs, particularly if they can keep one of those top 4 seeds. Would you like to see maybe a little bit better second guy besides Dillon Brooks and Jaren Jackson? Maybe, but I think as of right now, I'd be pretty scared to play the Memphis Grizzlies in the playoffs.
They're definitely playing. I have to agree. They're definitely playing with the swagger of a team that wants to win. You hear across the league that when you're dealing with a young team, you don't hear guys on the floor talk as much trash as usually from the veterans team. And you hear a lot of teams across the league say this team is a team that is playing with that me against the world type of attitude. And you gotta give a lot of credit to the organization. They've really changed the culture of this ball club, because if you look at this team 3 years ago, we wouldn't even be talking about them as being a contender. But it starts with their MVP candidate, Ja Morant. I mean, he's really put this team on their back. They come out with the sense of urgency each and every night. And the thing that I love about them, regardless who is not playing, they're able to plug in guys night in, night out. And that is a testament to their culture. You look at the San Antonio Spurs with Coach Popovich. Anytime a guy's been out, they were always able to add a guy into that system, and they didn't really lose a beat. So having Ja Morant out as many games that he has, and they were still able to go out and win games, you got to put him up there definitely in the Western Conference.
If you're trash talking kids, man, you got to have some serious swag if you're doing that. They'll go for number 11 in a row as they host the T-Wolves tonight. All right, let's talk about the Miami Heat. They've caught fire despite only having Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and Kyle Lowry together for 14 games this season. Tyler Hero has been just that, the hero. He's been great. But Colin, how dangerous could this team be if they can get everyone healthy playing together?
Yeah, I think heading into the season, we were really excited about the Miami Heat, given their core, the championship pedigree, all the things that they added in the offseason. But we thought, this team is going to be pretty shallow. They're very star heavy with all the money they're paying their top guys. One benefit to all the injuries that they've had is they've had guys come up, step up, guys like Max Strus, guys like Omer Yurtseven, Gabe Vincent. These are now players who they can be confident throwing into a playoff series. So I think you add that to the core of Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. I think this is a very dangerous team heading into the playoffs. And if you're the Miami Heat, you're looking at the Eastern Conference. Who knows what's going on with Brooklyn and Kyrie Irving? The Milwaukee Bucks have been kind of up and down. The Chicago Bulls don't exactly have the playoff experience of these other teams. So I think if you're the Heat, you think if we can get all of our guys healthy, now with the added bonus of these role players who have stepped up, we're going to be a pretty tough out, and they have to like their chances to make it to the NBA Finals.
And you got to give a lot of credit to Tyler Hero. I mean, he's really taken the challenge, especially with all the guys that they've been having out all season long. When I looked at his stats, I mean, he's averaging the most shots on this team when you got 3 other superstars, all-stars that actually was able to win in this league. So you got to take your hats off to him. He's really stepped up to the challenge. I like when guys are out in the regular season, you give a young guy like Tyler Hero, get his confidence back, get his swagger back. He kind of lost it last year, and I thought that was key in their success, especially going into the playoffs. But when you got him knocking down the shot, being confident, when they started him coming off the bench early in the season, he's going to be a huge plus for this Miami team, especially late in the playoffs when you have all your guys back. He's a guy that they're going to need to really knock down shots from the perimeter.
And be able to mix it all up. I mean, 14 different starting lineups this season. Boy, oh boy, the fact they're playing so well separately, imagine what they can do together. All right, well, for those who were wondering how good the Brooklyn Nets could be with all of their stars playing together, I mean, the answer's, pretty damn good based on what we saw last night. The Bulls will attest to that. They were boat raced by 26 last night. What message does last night's win send to the rest of the East here, Colin?
Oh, the rest of the East should be terrified. And this is what I'm sure they were all worried about when Kyrie Irving came back. When him and Kevin Durant and James Harden are on the court, the Nets are basically unbeatable. The problem, they just haven't been on the court that much. But when they are, we saw what happened in that game against the Bulls. They're up by 2 at halftime. Suddenly you look up in the fourth quarter, they're up by 38. This is just an absolutely devastating team. And you look at the pieces around them. The Nets started, Day'Ron Sharpe and Kessler Edwards. It doesn't really matter who you put around these three guys. So moving forward, the league has to be terrified. I think Brooklyn was the preseason championship favorite for a reason. And you have to think that if those three guys are healthy, not much has changed there.
Yeah, if I'm an opposing player, knowing that Kyrie is coming back, I'm terrified right now, because when you look at this roster, especially early in the season with no Kyrie, especially in the locker room, you want it to be turmoil. You don't want them to come back and see them on the bench blowing out the Chicago Bulls. Everybody's laughing. Amari Stoudemire's in the back. Steve Nash is having a good time on the sidelines. That's something that you hate to see, because when these three dudes are on the floor together, I think they're impossible to guard. You see that they add Patty Mills in there and play Kyrie at the 2, making him more as a scoring threat. It's just hard, especially from a defensive standpoint. Who you going to double team? Who you going to come off of? And all these guys are battle tested, especially when the game counts, and that's in the playoffs. When you hear Kevin Durant saying, "Hey, you know what? Chicago's back." I always say great players that are on great teams, and especially that when going against a team that is a threat to them, they never give them teams credit. So I would say, hey, lead, watch out. I think this is a way that this team is just saying, hey, you know what, guys, we're the better team in the Eastern Conference and the better team in the league. So if I'm an opposing team, I'm definitely terrified.
Thunder at the Nets tonight, a home game, so that means you will not see Kyrie. All right, let's talk about the Lakers. They can't seem to find enough consistency to make any big moves up the rankings. They're consistently inconsistent, as it turns out, and they sit at the 500 mark. Colin, how do they solve the Russell Westbrook problem? He was getting clowned in Sacramento last night, and it's becoming glaringly obvious that they will not win with him.
Yeah, if I could answer that question, I think I'd be coaching the Lakers right now. It's a very difficult situation. I think everyone knew heading in it was going to be a difficult fit with Westbrook and LeBron. They've actually been okay when they've been on the court together. The problem is when in those Westbrook-only minutes, when he's on the floor running the second unit, the Lakers have been awful. They haven't been able to put the ball in the basket. So, there's a couple signs for hope. One is that traditionally, Russell Westbrook has played better in the second halves of seasons, particularly recently, the Houston Rockets and the Washington Wizards. So there's some hope that maybe he can start to figure himself out over the course of the season. And then, of course, there's the hope that Anthony Davis will come back and be that bubble Anthony Davis, that close to MVP level Anthony Davis that they need him to be, given the fact that they traded almost all their depth for Russell Westbrook. So the outlook is bleak, but if you're a Lakers optimist, you can say, hey, look, Westbrook traditionally has gotten better in second halves. Anthony Davis is coming back, and LeBron is playing at just an unbelievable level. So there is hope for the future, but right now, Russell Westbrook is simply not playing well.
Yeah, this is a situation that I know everybody want to throw the kitchen sink at Russell Westbrook right now, but it's not all about him. This Lakers team is just a horrible defensive team. When you look at their roster, you would think that, especially with the pieces that they lost and some of the pieces that they got, they will still be pretty good defensively. but they've been horrible, especially from my standpoint, and that especially from a shooting standpoint. And that's something that we all expect coming into the season, that they wasn't a strong perimeter shooting team. When you got likes of Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, guys that want to play downhill, and teams are going to do everything possible to try to shrink the floor to keep them guys out of the paint. You got to have shooting, and when you don't have shooting, it kind of boggles everybody down. Russell Westbrook doesn't look as good that we have seen him in the past. Is it a situation where, the Lakers say to themselves, we got to take him off the ball and move him more to the shooting guard position? That way he can just be the old Russell Westbrook and just come downhill and try to make plays. But I just think that with the Lakers, they got to get better defensively. They got to get more shooting, and they got to get younger. I mean, it shows in just the injury bug that's been happening with them all season long. But I just don't think this is a situation where you just blame Russell Westbrook. They got too many other great players on this team. They got to lock in better on both ends of the floor to get out of this little rut that they're in.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.